This is Chapter 2 of The Unsworn Heir, written by Alexi Hart. The cord cut into her wrists as they walked. Not enough to bleed. The High Warden had bound her with the care of someone who knew exactly how much pain a body could carry before it stopped being useful. But the leather still bit when the road jolted beneath her boots, and each step sent a pulse of ache up her arms, steady as a warning. It kept her honest. They left the shrine behind and followed the border road east toward the low hills where the land softened into the crown's ordered fields. The wind thinned, the snow grew patchy, and the sky widened into a cold, watchful blue. Her captor walked beside her, not in front, not behind, as if he didn't need distance to hold her. 2 Wardenate soldiers followed. The whip man watched her like a dog kept from meat. The ledger man kept his eyes on her cloak and her hands, eager to catch proof of wickedness. None of them spoke. Silence was a kind of weapon. It made room for fear to breed. She refused to feed it. She focused instead on the relic hidden in her sleeve, the sliver of vow iron pressed against her skin with an unnatural cold. A constant reminder that she'd taken more than she could safely carry. Every few breaths, she felt it pull at her vital heat, like a thirsty mouth. She hated it for that. She hated herself more for how quickly she'd needed it. The High Warden's stride never faltered. He moved with the patience of someone trained to outlast anything, and the longer she walked beside him, the more she understood why people made stories about him. He didn't look like a villain. Villains preened. Villains enjoyed their own cruelty. This man looked like duty given a spine and taught to keep its face blank. It made him worse. Because you couldn't appeal to a blank face. You couldn't bargain with it unless you knew where the cracks were. And she hadn't found them yet. After an hour, the road bent through a stand of bare-limbed trees. The branches clacked together like bones. A narrow stream cut across the path, water black beneath a skin of ice. The High Warden halted and raised one gloved hand. The soldiers stopped at once. "Set camp here," he said. The whip man blinked. "Here, my lord? We could reach the way-house before dark." The High Warden's gaze stayed on the trees. No. Later, too late, she found him in the narrow space between the supply cart and the fallen stone wall, as if the world had decided to press them together. He stepped in, and there was nowhere to go. His body blocked the last thin strip of moonlight. The air between them turned thick, warm with his breath. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, low enough that only she could hear. His hand settled at her hip like he'd always owned the right to touch her there. Her mark pulsed, a bright, treacherous heat beneath skin, and the shadows at their feet leaned in. A snapped twig sounded behind them. A soldier cleared his throat, too loud. The moment shattered, yet her skin stayed hot where his hand had been, and he looked as erect as she felt. A simple refusal. The whip man swallowed it like a swallowed stone and moved to obey. The ledger man began pulling a bedroll from his pack. His hands shook slightly with the cold, or with something else. The High Warden turned to her. "Sit," he said. She lifted her chin. "I can walk." "I know," he said. "Sit anyway." It would have been satisfying to spit in his face, to refuse on principle, to make a scene that would force him to show his hand. But how tightly the net was drawn around her now. The shrine had been a public capture. There would be riders sent ahead. There would be notices. There would be hungry men on the road. She needed strength, and she needed information. So she sat on the fallen trunk he indicated, the bark slick with frost. The cord between her wrists kept her hands close together. The relic in her sleeve cooled her skin like a kiss from a corpse. The High Warden crouched in front of her, close enough that she could see the faint scar along his jaw, pale against weathered skin. Close enough that she could smell the bitter herbal note again, sharp beneath leather and steel. He took her wrists in one gloved hand. She stiffened. "Easy," he murmured, almost absent-minded. His thumb pressed once against the inside of her wrist, right over her pulse. The contact sent a strange awareness through her body, like a bell rung in bone. He watched her expression, not with hunger, with calculation. Then he tugged her sleeve back. The faint dark line along her vein was clearer now. The vow iron's chill had stained the skin around it, as if her blood had been bruised. His eyes narrowed. "You stole from the shrine," he said. "I prayed," she said lightly. "Is prayer theft now?" His thumb pressed again, harder, on her pulse. Pain flashed up her arm, not enough to break anything, not even enough to make her gasp, but enough that her body understood what he could do. He leaned closer, voice low. "I don't care about the shrine," he said. "I care about what you took." The words should have been a threat. Instead, they sounded like warning. She looked at his face, searching for the edge of emotion again. His eyes were dark, steady, and, she realized with a jolt, tired. The kind of tired that lived under the skin. The kind that didn't go away with sleep. "I didn't take anything," she lied. The moment the lie left her mouth, pain shot up her forearms. She sucked in a breath, eyes widening before she could hide it. The pain wasn't from his grip. It came from inside her bones. A sharp, twisting burn like a thorn driven under the nail. She stared at him. He didn't move, only watched. "Truth tether," he murmured. Her stomach dropped. The bond. No, not yet. They hadn't. And then she understood. Not thornbind. Crownbind. Contracts. Wardenate training. A sanctioned tether that punished falsehood when a prisoner was under direct interrogation. The Crown had built a way to make the body betray the mouth. "Of course he would," she whispered, and the words were half awe, half disgust. His gaze stayed on her. "You felt it." She laughed once, bitter. "I've felt worse." "I'm sure," he said, and for a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes. Not sympathy. Recognition. He straightened. "Tell me what you took." Her wrist still burned where the lie had punished her. Heat gathered behind her ribs, sharp and furious. Her blood wanted to lash out. Her vital heat surged, fed by humiliation, anger, the tightness of the cord, the cold attention in his gaze. She kept it contained. Contained didn't mean gone. "I took nothing," she said again, choosing her words carefully. "Not from the shrine." The pain eased. The tether accepted the shape of her truth. His mouth tightened. "From somewhere else." She shrugged. "I'm a pilgrim. I collect blessings." One corner of his mouth twitched. The smallest thing. Gone almost before she could be sure it had been real. "You're not clever," he said, though the faint curve suggested otherwise. "You're practiced." She leaned back on the log, as if she were comfortable. As if she wasn't bound. As if she wasn't a hunted thing caught in teeth. "Is that what you want?" she asked. "A confession for your ledger man to write down? Or do you want to know what the Crown will pay for me?" His eyes sharpened. She kept going, softening her voice until it sounded almost intimate. "How much do you get, High Warden, for dragging an unsworn heir to the capital? A purse? A title? A blessing from the radiant sea?" His hand tightened fractionally on the cord. "Careful." "I am careful," she said. "That's why I'm still alive." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Your name." The question hit differently. Not because of the tether, because names mattered. Her mother had taught her that first. A name was a hook. A name was a promise. A name could be used. "I have many," she said. "That isn't an answer." "I'm unsworn," she said. "I'm not allowed one." His gaze held hers. The tether waited. She could feel the trap in it. If she lied, it would hurt. If she gave her true name, he could chain it to a contract. If she gave a false name, the pain would reveal it. She chose the only truth she could afford. "You can call me what the crown calls me," she said. "Pray." The tether didn't punish her. The ledger man made a choking sound behind them, half laugh, half outrage. The High Warden didn't look away from her. "That's not what the crown calls you." She blinked. "What then?" His voice lowered. "Key." Her throat went tight. "So you do know," she whispered. His expression didn't change, but his eyes looked older. "I know enough," he said, "and I know you're going to the capital." The whip man approached with a water skin, holding it out to the High Warden, then hesitating, as if uncertain whether he was allowed to offer it to her. The High Warden took it and held it to her lips. She stared at him. "You expect me to drink," she said. "I expect you not to dehydrate before we arrive," he replied. She could have refused, could have let spite kill her slow. Instead, she opened her mouth and drank. The water was cold and tasted faintly of leather. She swallowed, throat moving, and felt his gaze follow the motion. Not lewd, not hungry. Attentive, as if he was memorizing the way she lived. She lowered her head and smiled slightly. "You're kind, High Warden." He didn't rise to it. "Don't mistake efficiency for kindness." "Is that what you tell yourself?" she asked. His eyes flashed, quick and sharp, then smoothed again. She had found a crack. Small, but there. He capped the water skin and handed it back to the whip man. Then he reached into his cloak and withdrew a strip of cloth. Clean, pale linen. He wound it around her wrists beneath the cord, patting the leather. The gesture was brisk, practical. Her breath caught anyway. Being cared for was a kind of violence when you hadn't asked for it. "There," he said. "Now you won't bleed." "I wasn't going to," she said. "I know," he replied, and there it was again, that strange certainty in his voice. "But the cord will chafe. The journey is long." He stepped back, rising to his full height. "Eat," he said, and tossed her a piece of hard bread from the pack. She caught it awkwardly with bound hands. The bread was stale. She bit anyway. He watched her chew. The tether didn't demand anything. It waited. When she swallowed, he said, "If I ask you a question, answer truthfully." Her smile turned sharp. "Or you'll hurt me?" "No," he said, "or the tether will." "Convenient," she murmured. He ignored it. "Did you steal vow iron?" Her jaw tightened. The relic pulsed against her wrist, as if it knew it was being discussed. She could lie and take the pain, but pain cost heat, and heat cost control, and control was the only reason she was sitting here instead of burning the trees down. "I took a sliver," she admitted. "Yes." The ledger man's eyes lit up like a child's. "Write it down," he hissed to himself, already reaching for his book. The High Warden didn't look at him. "Why?" he asked. She shrugged. "Because I needed it." "Needed it for what?" The tether waited. Her mouth went dry. She chose a truth that wasn't the whole truth. To cut a contract, she said. His gaze sharpened. Whose? She smiled, slow. Someone else's. His eyes narrowed. That isn't an answer. It's the only one you get, she said. The tether didn't punish her. She had spoken truth. Just not enough of it. He stared at her for a long moment, then said, "You're going to be questioned in the Capitol. Harder than this." Harder than your cord? She asked, voice soft. His expression didn't change, but something in the air around him felt tighter. I won't be the one asking, he said. Her skin went cold. The radiant sea, she guessed. He didn't confirm it, which was confirmation enough. She swallowed and forced herself to keep her face smooth. They'll want me for purity, she said, mocking the word. For miracles. They'll want you for a knife, he corrected, and for a lock. Her stomach turned. She took another bite of bread, mostly so she'd have something to do with her mouth that wasn't saying all the terrible things her mind wanted to scream. The High Warden shifted his stance, cloak moving like a shadow. The dark mail beneath caught the thin light, turning it into a dull sheen. So, she said, as if the conversation bored her, are you bringing me to the crown or to the sea? His eyes flicked to her, sharp. To both, he said. They'll argue over you. They always do. She laughed low. I'm flattered. You shouldn't be, he replied. The fire crackled as the whip man struck flint. The ledger man muttered about rations. Snowfall again, small and dry, dusting the bare branches. The High Warden knelt by the fire, warming his hands for a heartbeat. When he looked up, his eyes found hers immediately. You can make this easier, he said. Her laugh was tired. By what? Begging? By cooperating, he said. By not testing the edges of your cage. She held his gaze. If I don't test it, how do I know where it breaks? His eyes narrowed, and for the first time the blankness in his face slipped enough that she saw something hard beneath. Because I will tell you, he said. Why? She asked. So you can keep me alive for the crown's use? His jaw flexed once, muscle tight. Because, he said, voice low, if you force me to subdue you on this road, you will draw attention, and attention will bring worse than me. She paused. That wasn't fear. Not of her. Of something else. Her gaze dropped to his hands. She noticed, then, the way he kept his gloves on even near the fire, the way he never let bare skin touch the world, the way the edge of his wrist, visible between glove and sleeve, looked faintly darkened, like bruising that didn't belong to cold, like rot under the skin. A whisper of unease slid down her spine. You're afraid, she murmured. His eyes snapped up. No, he said at once. The tether didn't punish him. So he believed it. Or he had learned how to shape truth into armor. She tilted her head. Then what are you? His gaze held hers for a long moment. Then he said, I'm the one keeping you alive. And if you decide I'm not worth the trouble? His eyes were very still. Then you'll be dead, he said, and the world will still open its mouth beneath the Capitol. She froze. The words landed with the force of prophecy. You've seen it, she whispered. He didn't answer. But his silence was heavy, and the air around them felt suddenly colder. The relic in her sleeve pulsed again, hungry. Her blood answered it, restless, as if it recognized the shape of danger in his voice. The High Warden rose and stepped toward her. He stopped close enough that his shadow fell over her knees, over her bound hands, over the relic hidden near her wrist. His voice dropped to something only she could hear. If you're smart, he said. "You'll stop trying to outplay me and start trying to survive what's coming." Her pulse hammered. She looked up at him and found his eyes dark, steady, unflinching. And in that moment, she understood something she hadn't wanted to. He wasn't hunting her because he enjoyed it. He was hunting her because he thought she was the only thing standing between the realm and whatever waited beneath the capital. So she wasn't prey. She was a lock. And he was the key that would drag her into place. She smiled anyway, because fear was a confession. "I always survive," she said. His gaze held hers for a beat longer. Then he turned away, cloak sweeping, and walked to where his soldiers waited. Night gathered around the small camp like a closing fist. She sat bound by the fire, chewing stale bread, pretending her hands didn't shake. And beneath her sleeve, vow iron drank her heat in slow, patient sips, as if the relic already knew the truth neither of them had spoken aloud. The crown didn't want her alive. The crown wanted her useful. Usefulness, she had learned, was just another kind of chain.